Hello everyone, Maurice and welcome to Things Invest. We're talking about investing, finance, and professional development. For today's video, it is terms only. The investment on top of today will be Ethereum ticker ETH. First of all, say good morning, good evening, and good night, everybody, depending on where you are globally. As of this morning, I'm recording relatively earlier today, around 7:23 a.m. I have a lot of meetings ahead of me, so I want to wake up a little bit earlier and also skip out on my gym time to do this video to keep you guys up to date. Hopefully you don't mind me for being a little bit too early. So I'm recording around 7:26 a.m. on the Eastern time right now. Ethereum's currently trading around like the $2,264, up about 1.18% so far. And on the equity market spectrum, I just checked right now the pre-market level. We currently up about like 0.1% and 0.81% respectively with respect to SPY and NASDAQ at the moment. So we're not really driving any, anti-correlation effects that's going on with respect to crypto market at the moment right now, right? However, with respect to earlier, depending on what time you talk about, like a couple hours ago when I was still dead asleep, right? And during midnight on the East Coast, we got some media affectation that got picked up, right, with respect to the ENY news on their, initiative to take a crack at the Ethereum gas fee problem, right, with the new protocol called Nightfall 3 to help make Ethereum blockchain technology a cheaper alternative usage, right, and transacting without sacrificing privacy protection, right? And this is something that's important on a long-term macro value proposition for Ethereum, right? Because as Ethereum get further adopted on a more of a massive level globally, it's gonna hit that transactional scalability bottleneck, right? So by taking this initiative to solve this like high fee gas fee problem, Ethereum taking it head on with the Nightfall 3, despite its failure in the past, in 2019, and it's been percolating, and they've been working on it, on cultivating this initiative in their lab for quite some time now. So hopefully this will actually turn out. So definitely a positive move overall that got picked up internationally and subsequently drove up some buying pressure across the board. And I'm aware that on the Asian market as well, on the equity side, there's been some negative news around, among the tech sector in China that's been driving a little bit negative media affectation, right? And that subsequently had maybe some direct correlations. So I'm gonna go through a technical analysis to see how we're trending going forward, what's the level that we should be dollar cost averaging, how should we be maneuvering through the economical cycle, and some of the media affectations going forward, and my price prediction for year 2021 as well. So stay tuned, stick around, let's make some money. Alright, so moving on to the technical analysis for Ethereum ticker ETH, I'm recording as of 7:29 a.m. on the Eastern time right now. It's currently trading around like the $2,262, up about 1.07%. And you can see that with respect to the consecutive negative media affectation ever since the FOMC meeting, the James Bullard article, and then the Chinese crackdown, and then we got all the way to the bottom right here on June 26th. And subsequent to that, we had the positive media affectation, firstly coming from, I remember that was the JP Morgan proof of stake adoptions article that came out, right? The research report that came out, right? And also the B word summit that have that anticipatory momentum going forward, right? And then subsequently we had another green candle that came out from the $542 million bet on the Ethereum by one single unknown entity, right? And then we had a little bit of selling pressure, and I think this was just a normalization rather than just anything specific, because we had just like consecutive positive days so far, right? And I think this red candle is mainly driven by that, Jack Dorsey's article on his anti-Ethereum, or he's a maximalist for Bitcoin only, and he's only supporting Bitcoin. And I think the media affectation try to like shift people away from altcoin and make Bitcoin seems like it's a more ideal value proposition for a long term, and subsequently drove some sell off from there. And then subsequent to that, we had another subsequent green candles with respect to the London fork news, right? And also with respect to the $13 billion worth of ethers that's been staked on Ethereum 2.0 right now, right? More supplementary type of news onto the JP Morgan proof of stake news that we had, right? So these positive news has been definitely great, right? And that's the reason why we've been kind of calculating and building these momentum pressure to have this kind of a drag momentum to be pushing up so far, right? So what do we see going forward right here, right? It seems like with respect to supply and demand right now for Ethereum, despite corporate adoptions, despite global utilization, in the recent trends right now, on a more of a short-term perspective, is mainly driven by media affectation, right? I think these are, you know, direct correlations to the news that we've been hearing so far, right? Despite the whales that we talked about, like the $542 million bet that we saw earlier, but that bet was, it's relatively minimal in comparisons to the overall market. It does have some drag effects, obviously to the supply and demand dynamics, but it's not like massive enough to make any dent into the market, if you may, right? So it's ultimately going to be driven by us, right? By public investors, at the same time by corporate investors, right? So with respect to how I'm going to be seeing going forward right now, we are kind of testing in a more of a comfort zone right now, $2,250 level. If you look at the historical level, we've tested this a ton of times, right? You can see a ton of time here, and then and then a ton of time here. So 2,250 is a level that we've tested before. I would say it's about like 13 times in comparisons to the 2,150, which we've tested 20 times, if you count yesterday as well. So definitely great level to dollar cost average right now. I think 2,250. I think we have a high propensity to actually go back down a little bit, despite the pump that we had on mostly the international side of the world because of the EMI news that we heard earlier around like 3 a.m. Eastern time this morning when I was again dead asleep. So 2,150, that's the level I would dollar cost average at. $2,050 would be another level that will be ideally dollar cost average at, because I would love to buy these levels again. Do we see 1950? I think in near term, no. But after the summit, maybe. But we have to see how the anticipatory momentum will look like going forward, contingent on no more black swan news, obviously. All right, just to recap on all the numbers and technical analysis, with respect to the current level at the $2,250, I think that's a great level to buy in. I think, again, right, with respect to the technical analysis on a consolidated perspective, we've been basically hovering around this level about like 13 times so far, right? And I've been keeping tabs, right? However, with respect to more of an attractive level, 2,150, that's the level that I keep talking about, right? That's the level that we always bounce off of extremely sharply, right? And that's the reason because we have tested this level about 20 times so far. So 2,150 is a great level to buy in. I'm eyeing this level. If we get there, I think we might and we should be, just based on the propensity of the chart, how it's set up right now on the MACD and RSI needs to cool off, right? I keep mentioning so far. Potentially getting to $2,050, I think that's a high likelihood. I think if this may be a 50-50 right now. I think 2,150 will be a relatively hard level to crack down. But knowing the fact that the MACD and RSI is highly overbought right now, it should be logical for us to get there. And with respect to corporate adoption, 20%, 9,800, 4.4 times your money if you buy $2,250 level at the moment. Alright, so that's it for today. Respect my technical analysis on Ethereum ticket ETH. Hopefully this video wasn't too early for some of you guys or too late for some of you guys. But I appreciate your support like always. I have a ton of meetings today that I don't really look forward to. I literally, if I look at my calendar, I'm like back to back to back until like 5 p.m. later today. But I'm still going to be on my phone. So feel free to reach out to me, if you have any questions or if there was anything unclear. Have a great rest of the day or great rest of the night, depending on where you are. And stay tuned for the next video coming up. Take care. Bye.